The digestive system is one of the more complex body systems found in the human body. Now, today we're going to be looking at specifically the digestion of a hot dog with just the bun and the hot dog. Now, at first, the hot dog enters the mouth and is chewed up using the teeth, and then the saliva is excreted from the salivary glands. Now, this contains amylase. Amylase starts to break down the starches that are found, and the starches are a polysaccharide, and it starts to turn it into a monosaccharide, which is a simpler sugar, also known as glucose. So this is one of the more important stages because it starts the breakdown of everything. Now it starts to go down the esophagus, but the epiglottis covers the trachea, that way it doesn't get in there. But then it's pushed down the esophagus using peristalsis, which are involuntary muscle contractions. It then reaches the lower esophagus sphincter, which is a muscle that contracts and relaxes to open and close the entrance to the stomach. This makes sure that the acid from the stomach does not get into the esophagus, and then that would end up damaging the esophagus and causing heartburns and other problems. Now, inside of the stomach, there's a lot of pepsin, gastric acids, and other chemicals start to break down the rest of the food. Pepsin breaks down the proteins inside of the stomach into smaller amino acid chains. That way it can be used. However, amylase stops working because it cannot work well in the pH level of the stomach, and it denaturizes. So then all of that is breaking down whatever's in there, and so it keeps mixing it up, and it eventually turns into chyme, which is a liquefied form of all of the food and all the nutrients that are found inside of this food, and this basically is what it becomes. It's rolled up in a ball. Now the pancreas releases some alkaline mixtures that helps this. Then it goes through the prolactic sphincter to go to the small intestine. However, bicarbonate is released, and because the stomach has so much acid in it, it starts to neutralize some of this acid. That way it can enter the small intestine without hurting it. Now, inside the small intestine, you kind of see the final digestion take place for the proteins, namely trypsin starts digesting those, the lipids and the starches. Now, bile from the gallbladder is excreted. It actually is made inside of the liver, and then it is stored in the gallbladder, and then it's released, and this starts to break down the lipids for the use. Now, many of these nutrients then are absorbed through the stomach, or through the small intestine and the microvilli, and all of those have been absorbed, and then it's eventually sent to the large intestine. Now, the liquid parts of the chyme are starting to be absorbed into the rest of the body. This is actually the effort of the body to kind of conserve any water that would be found in there. That way you're not wasting any water, but instead you're having as much as you can and using everything in your body as efficiently as you possibly can. So then after this, the chyme turns into fecal matter. This fecal matter is pushed further and further through the digestive tract, through, again, the active peristalsis, kind of the same thing as how it worked in the esophagus. And then eventually it finally gets to the end and exits the body from the rectum or anus, and both the starches and the lipids and the proteins are all a very big deal within this digestion, because the hot dog bread contains a lot of starches, and the hot dog itself contains a lot of proteins and lipids. So the main function of the digestive system, though, is to make sure all these nutrients are absorbed. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this was very informational and helpful to everyone. Thank you very much.